And Carrie, for this week, I wanted to talk about this idea of Ortho-K is easy because I have seen this so much in my time in this industry, and I'm kind of confused by this idea. We've seen a lot of different Ortho-K products come out, and we've seen it a lot of them be positioned as this is Ortho-K easy. And I want to talk about why that is and whether that's beneficial or harmful towards the industry as a whole. What do you think?
Well, you use the imagery there. I think of the easy button, right? It's right there, and
Yeah.
just press the easy button and it's all done. I think that's kind of like the goal here is to make
Hmm.
Ortho-K like that. There are, we're going to talk about reasons why that may or may not work, but I mean, it's interesting that the industry is moving forward with that, and I think it's a correct move on their part, personally,
Okay.
to try to get that concept across because Ortho-K is intimidating. I
Hmm.
mean, it always has been intimidating. It's outcomes aren't always certain, even with the easy button.
Hmm.
But I think it's a good thing to get people involved, more people involved in this. But I don't want them to get more involved and then find out that it's not like it's not presented as the way it is, and it's not a reality, and it's a lot, and then they stop doing it for the reasons that they got irritated or upset, they didn't meet the expectations. So we don't want to see that either.
Yeah, and that's kind of my position on it. That's part of my confusion because I've seen not harm, but I have seen a dropout rate when Ortho-K has been positioned as easy, and then it turns out it's not easy, for that practitioner, and that is an easy way for them to abandon their pursuit of myopia management.
Yeah, and I think this is really fundamental stuff. I think that if you think about the generations, my generation grew up with PMA lenses, and the rigid lens, and we fit rigid lenses on the eyeball, and we could see what that did and didn't do. We could refine our fits, but we were used to looking at it. Today's generations don't have any experience with that. They're fitting mostly all soft lenses. So when you put this object on the eye, they don't know what to expect. I mean, even their staff doesn't even know how to present it because it takes different types of solutions. It takes different kind of care systems. It's not easy. There's a learning curve. So I'll be fascinated to see how our great supporters here in the industry deals with that, because it's you're trying to jump someone into a place that's like, maybe we need the TARDIS, Doctor Who here. We need to go
Yeah.
take them all back to the pre-soft lens era, so you can get just a little bit of contact with that. So it would make it a little bit simpler for them.
Right. So, do you agree with me that Ortho-K is not easy at this point in time?
Well, okay. About 80% of your Ortho-K fits, 75 to 80% of your Ortho-K fits are going to work.
Hmm.
All right. And so that's a B, right?
Hmm.
That's not an A, it's a B. So if a B is good enough, right? Why shouldn't it be good enough for Ortho-K? I think if you look at it that way, you can see where they're coming from. The problem with all that is that the doctors, and they should have a problem with this, they want to fit those other 20% successfully. And
Hmm.
after they do this enough, they want to have that 80% be as good as they can make the 80%. Some doctors aren't like this. There's a group of us that are just nerds with this thing, and we
Right.
want to do the best we can. And if you're talking about myopia control, you can generate higher levels of myopia control with custom fitting. That's been Eddie Chow did a groundbreaking work on that. So there's where the conundrum starts. I've seen topographer companies come in as an example and say, all you need to do is capture 70% of the cornea and that's sufficient.
Hmm.
That might be for a soft lens, but a custom fit lens like an Ortho-K lens, that's not good enough. Okay. You got to have 90% or more. So I
Right.
think that's where we kind of like lose this divide in a bit. And, we don't want to see what, both of us, both you and I witnessed with the ability overnight, which was
Yeah.
the fact that, basically doctors and their staff weren't taking good enough topographies for a topography-based system.
Right.
And the lens would often be a problem because the topographies weren't good enough. Not the lens fault the lens at all, but just the capture of the topography. So this is a really complex subject. And I don't know if you
Yes.
can answer this with a hard or easy thing. In one respect, I love the easy aspect because I love to get more doctors involved in doing this thing and grow the community. On the other aspect, I don't want them to look around and say, you know what, this wasn't what I anticipated. I'm not going to do this anymore or fail at it. So we don't want to be there. So, but the good news is that a lot of these new systems that are coming out are pretty darn good. I mean, they've done a heck of a job, and we can talk about that at another podcast. Name names,
Right.
take prisoners, basically, name names. So that's where I have that's where I have my problem with this. Is
Yeah.
basically, we have a subject like Ortho-K, which intuitively is not easy because you're dealing with doctors, ECPs that have not been educated in fitting rigid lenses and have no clue. One of the greatest fun times I have is with doctors that start to grow in this, and you can teach them how to get better at it. I mean, that's really a lot of fun because then they can just, that's like you see the light bulb go on, right? And they said, you can do this, but you can do so much more with it. We both have had experience with watching doctors run with it, and
Yeah.
a lot of those doctors are a who's who now, where people go to for information. They
That's true.
started out with
That's true.
giving them this little carrot that they ran with, and watching them
Right.
grow. So I think that's one of the most awesome things that I enjoy from working with doctors.
If you're interested in getting the rest of the episode, consider becoming a paid supporter of the Myopia Mindset. In addition to an extended version of this episode and every other episode that we do, you'll also get access to exclusive monthly bonus episodes of the Myopia Mindset. And I know you're interested. You've made it this far. You can do so on our Substack, myopiamindset.substack.com. I'll see you at the next one.